Hi, and welcome to another episode of Stack and Strategy, where we talk about all things marketing and martech. Today, I have Ishara Naotunna with me. Hi, Ishara.
Hi.
Ishara is a director of customer and product marketing at PetDesk, and she was formerly the senior PMM at WSO2, and also the host of Spill the Marketing Beans podcast, a speaker at the Product Marketing Alliance APAC Festival, and a writer on all things PMM related. Hi, Ishara. Glad to have you here.
Hi. Glad to be here.
Right. So to kick things off, um, I know that you worked in the tourism industry, the broadcasting industry, and the tech marketing industry. What made you switch to the product marketing industry, and how has the switch been like compared to what you did previously?
It wasn't really a conscious effort I made to switch. It just so happens that I just kept taking chances, wanting to experiment with various industries. So, right out of school, I just wanted to be employed, make some
Right.
cash while I did my studies. So, my first job happened to be in hospitality. And then I went into advertising simply because I wanted to learn what that whole industry was about. And then I went into radio. But I think in all of those uh, jobs that I did, there were elements that have helped me now. For
Right.
example, in the banquet sales job, it's been working with multiple teams, paying a lot of attention to detail, just always being alert on how things are going, having insane organizational skills. They weren't insane, still working on it, but it's helped quite a bit. With my role at the advertising firm, also, I was in client servicing. Still, you have to work with a lot of teams. You're working with creative people, so you get different kinds of people that you get to work with, but also you get to work with products and brands and all these storytelling stuff. And with radio, it was 100% storytelling. How you communicate, how do you communicate and say something very in a few words rather than going on right now. But then when I made that switch to tech, it was mostly because I wanted to just know what it was like
Right.
to work in tech and not because I was extremely tech savvy or anything, because I've just done a lot of different
Mm.
things. So the first part was into corporate marketing when I was in the tech company
Right.
and doing events and things like that, which I later on realized wasn't really my strength. But then as I went on, there was the opportunity to work on product related campaigns. And then the door opened when the team there realized, okay, we need to start having product marketing. And because I've had all these various experiences, especially working on product campaigns, then when the opportunity opened up, I got to be one of the founding PMMs there. And that's how that
Right.
started. Then I realized, oh, I like this part where I get to tell stories and
Right.
work with product teams. So that's how that
Right.
transition happened.
So it's all the soft skills you gain from your previous experiences bundled into one, and finding the correct fit and what you like to do, right?
I think so
It's
because even when I've spoken to like a lot of the other product marketers in my podcast, some of them are history majors or English
mm,
majors, psychology majors. Some people have made the switch from tech to product, tech to marketing, which they call moving to the dark side. But a lot of them come from these liberal arts of various industries or just marketers in general,
right.
and they realized, oh, there's a niche that you can go
Mm,
into, which I've found personally amongst a lot of the
right.
others I've spoken to, and I think it's true for me
Right.
also.
So it doesn't have to be from a marketing background. You can, get started on this, whichever background you come from, if you have the interest for it.
100%. I think so. If you are a person who loves telling stories, if you'd like to see how a feature of a product and how can you connect it to a person who really needs that, then I think you have a good start. The other knowledge you have with marketing, sure, it helps for sure.
All right. So, what made you start a podcast, and what made you believe in product marketing so much that you'd want to build a product podcast and already write about it and so on? And also, when did it stop being just another job and being something that you love doing?
I think it's because at the point that I started being a product marketer, I realized it felt like a relatively new function,
Mm.
especially in Sri Lanka. I think it's still a growing one. So the people that I wanted to learn from was a little limited.
Mhm.
One of the advice that I got from my manager at the time, who was the head of the product that I was reporting to, he said, reach out to other people, go beyond the network that I currently have. Just go on LinkedIn, see who the other product marketers are in the industry, and have a chat with them and see what it's like. You know, what are their challenges and things like. And then as I had those conversations, he and my spouse and also my brother, they were all encouraging, saying, you know, you have all these cool conversations with these people. Why don't you record and share them? There might be
Right.
someone else who'd like to learn it. And what I'm really grateful for up to now is the number of people that I have reached out to saying, hey, would you mind spending 20, 30 minutes with me just to tell me a little bit about product marketing? I'm trying to learn
Yeah.
it. How they freely said, yes, I'd love to help. So I'm very thankful for that. And as I kept doing it, I realized I was learning more. And I think you always learn so much from other people. Your experience is, I think, your number one teacher. So being able to like talk to them and bring those stories together made me a believer to think, oh, and I like asking questions, as you can
Right.
tell. I love to talk. So it just became an intersection of all these things that I started to really like and things that I always liked doing anyway. So then I thought, let's make this a thing. But also there's the selfish notion of also how it's a little masterclass for me, where I'm learning about things. So that's why now it's become this thing that I really enjoy
Enjoy
doing.
doing, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's quite interesting. I'm learning a lot from talking to you as well, and all the other guests we have as well.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
that makes perfect sense, right? Um, so to enlighten me on what product marketing is,
Yeah.
how would you explain product marketing to a noob like me, right? Um, in a very brief and very basic manner.
Sure.
What is product marketing?
So product marketers are the people who takes a product to market by telling stories about it to the people that really care about it.
Right.
So it just doesn't happen. You need to know who would really find a need or a use for that particular feature. And once a feature is built, how can you tell that kind of story that not only addresses the pain point but also really articulates what that does? And in which ways do you push it out to the market? So if the product manager is building a product and putting it on the shelf, the product marketer will take it out and say, here you go. Um, Again, like we kind of spoke about, if a product manager is the CEO of the product, then the product marketing manager would be the CMO. So that's how I see the role. And I think in general, it's a role of a connector. After you do things like customer research, competitive intelligence, messaging, positioning, and all of those things, the product marketer sits at the intersection of product and marketing and sales. And we bring all of these elements together and say, here's what we've heard. This is what it does. This is how we talk about it. And you make sure there's alignment.
Right.
Creating alignment is the word that I've heard so much that you tend to really it makes you feel something, but it is what the job is all about, making sure everyone is on the same page.
Right.
So I don't know if that was a simple enough
I
definition,
think that's
but yeah,
as simple as it gets, I
as
guess.
simple as it gets, because the definition
Right.
varies quite a bit. It varies from organization to organization because the need for PMM often comes because of different reasons. But
So you need to mold it to what your organization requires, right?
correct.
Yeah. And from what you mentioned, it's about alignment and um, making a better product and a more appealing product based on what product tells,
Yeah.
marketing tells, sales tells, and so on, right? So there's a wide scope that you're looking at. What part of this job do you like the most, and is there anything?
Yes, I really like the customer research side of things.
Right.
I love being able to speak to someone and understanding, tell me about your day. What are the
Right.
hardest parts of your day? What would you have to do differently if this product didn't exist for you?
Right.
If you had a magic wand, what would you make this product do? Um, if you were to not use this product anymore, what kind of alternative would you look for? Or what is keeping you up at night?
Right.
What are the goals that you want to achieve? I love having these conversations with customers, prospects, users in general, because you tend to then understand, okay, this is where you're coming from.
Mhm.
One of the things that I did in my current role is there's this amazing TED talk done by this DVM, a veterinarian, where she talks about just the daily life of a vet. And I realized I only looked at things from the perspective of a standard pet owner or a marketeer. So when I like design my communication, sometimes it's a thing of, hey, here's the most exciting feature, or we're thrilled to announce we have this new feature. But then when I learn and when you hear from that person's point of view as to what their day is really like, they are dealing with sick pets, um, people who are going through a lot of stress, a lot of work that happens behind the scenes, and there's a lot of intensity that's going around. And imagine reaching that persona with my email that says, I'm thrilled to announce my feature, how that would go down. So, understanding where they come from and how to craft that message in a way that really lands, and where they think for a second, oh, wait, this might make my day easy, is the ultimate goal. So, for that reason, I like customer research, understanding, and just not getting that, but translating it into an insight that I can take back to the product team, to the marketing team when they write certain things. Or customer success, of course, would have a good sense of what customers say, but still taking that insight and say, hey, this is something
Right.
else I uncovered.
Again, it's
So,
about alignment, right? So getting the data from
100%.
customer success and
Definitely.
so on, and then pushing it through marketing.
Yeah, so I think that's a part I definitely enjoy. I also like competitive intelligence as well, because you have to keep an eye out on like what everyone else is doing, but you have to draw a line between not being too obsessed, but just
Yeah.
knowing enough of what's happening in the industry. But I think those are my favorite bits. Yeah.
That's interesting. So, from what I've seen, product marketing is mostly in the SaaS industry, but probably could be in other industries as well, maybe by different names,
Sure.
different roles, and so on. But if we are looking at the SaaS industry, um, what would you say could go wrong if you don't have product marketing?
Hmm. That's a very good question, because I think that's exactly when things have gone wrong, is exactly when they start thinking, we need a product marketer here. One of the instances that have usually come up is, and this happens, I know, in lots of organizations, where the product team would say, we have this new feature. We need to tell customers about it. And then the marketing manager will say, great, we'll write some communications. When is it new? And product will say, it's up. When? 2 weeks ago. Then panic ensues. Then we're trying to bring things together, and you have something in production already, and you're trying to then bring all the teams together. You realize sales wasn't really aware, then you give them some kind of talk track, and then there's this whole conversation of, okay, we need someone here that can speak to product, be on that journey early on, and we'll take that and speak to everyone else, make sure marketing has the copy they need and sales has the right talk track, and you have all of those things queued up so that when the feature is really going to hit production, everyone is ready. You know, you have your alpha days, your
There's a
beta
lot of
days.
planning involved, right?
There's lots of planning involved. But having said that, things can always still get chaotic in that, you know, product teams will still have a certain roadmap goal to fulfill.
Right.
So you're trying to organize that and hit those goals as well. So with product marketers in the team, we constantly go with product marketers saying, with product managers saying, keep me in the loop. Tell me what's happening. Bring me to the conversation early. I can help you with research. I can help you bring some insights. Let's really validate and see if this is what we want to build. And that happens to be another thing as well. You build something and then you ship it, and then you realize that it's not what the customer wanted. So bringing the product marketer there early on to ask customers and see, what's the pain point here? How would you feel? How do you think this might help you? So validate, bringing that early validation will definitely also avoid from someone not accepting.
Yeah.
So these kind of things sometimes might be fulfilled by a different role as well. Sometimes like a UX researcher within your organization or within the product team. But a product marketer can most certainly help bring that insight, translate it, and once product builds it, take that story back to the customer and say, we listen, Here you go.
That's very interesting because I think when we look at startups in general and
Yeah.
also SaaS industry in general as well, one of the core issues that a lot of products face is that they build features
Yeah.
because the engineering team it likes it or
Yeah.
thinks it'd be a cool feature to have.
Yeah. Or competitor has it.
Yeah, or a competitor
Yeah.
has it exactly. Um, and then down the line, you realize that the customers aren't using that product, right?
Yeah.
Or that feature rather. And when you ask the customers, then you realize, well, they don't really have a need for it, and you've wasted so much resources, time, and money on building features that aren't really required. And now you have to
Correct.
go and maintain that as well, so that again adds on to the cost, and so on, right?
That's right. And then sometimes, unfortunately, there's also that part of if something doesn't land or it's not being adopted, it becomes a maybe the messaging wasn't right.
Right.
Maybe we didn't say the right thing about it. So there's that as well. But which is why things like messaging testing and things
Right.
like that exist as well. So it's very easy for when things don't go right for it to go
Right.
in all those directions. So that's why you need a product
Right.
marketer to make sure
Yeah,
those
that's
things are
very true because one example is I won't go to mention the brand name, but one of our competitors
right.
actually removed a feature
Okay.
and then they brought it back in
Okay.
because they realized well now the customers do want it,
Right.
right?
Okay.
So yeah, there could be like bumps in the product roadmap
Yeah.
where you might think you don't need it and then you end up realizing well maybe the messaging was wrong but people were actually using it or
Yes.
interested in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, very um diverse sort of
Absolutely.
examples that you'd have, right?
Definitely.
And I guess the need for a product marketer could come from different angles
Yes.
and might not be the same for every organization alike.
Yes.
All right. So when we look at product marketing, a lot of the work becomes, invisible, and
Yes.
a lot of it can come down to positioning, marketing, getting your story right before anything comes out the door. How do you approach that, and how do you know when your positioning is strong enough to launch or roll out and move forward?
That's a good question. First of all, thank you for acknowledging a lot of the product marketing work is very invisible. That is so true. Because a lot of the things that we do in terms of the research or the messaging work that we pass on to the demand gen team, it's very difficult sometimes to track unless you
Right.
very closely look at your impact on inbound, for
Right.
example, because demand gen would look at the ARR directly, and you can only look at how your messaging influenced something, but sometimes they would have just written,
Yeah.
they're on a different channel that has
Because
gone well.
if you're looking at traditional marketing, it's very easy to see the effort.
Correct.
Same with engineering and so on. But when you're at the intersection point, it might be difficult to see the value, right?
It is, but still, the value that PMMs bring is so much. So, thank you for acknowledging that. But secondly, with the positioning, how you know it's so. Let's think about positioning, for example. How, if we were to define what positioning is how a customer would think about a product. It's how they imagine it or what they think of when they like hear about
Right.
it. That's what positioning is all about. So there are all these various frameworks that you can use to figure out the positioning journey. So you have the standard template that we try to fill. Say we build this product that we giving the reasons to believe it is unique because and it's better than and unlike other competitors we of you have that standard template that you try to fill out, which gets a little tough. So that is why, for example, April Dunford, who wrote this book called Obviously Awesome, she thinks about positioning as giving something a frame of reference, what it does, how does it solve their problem, and about a group of people that really cares about, and that I think is a huge emphasis, really getting into who cares about this thing that you're building. And these are the competing alternatives. So in that, what I really like is giving that frame of reference to that feature. When you talk about something, what is it? So even in my experience, like in the product that I was managing before, we were trying to define or give it a category. And then we wanted to go a little broad with it, and we thought, oh, let's call it a productivity and growth plan.
Mhm.
Now, this means absolutely nothing to our audience. We realize they are in the veterinary industry. What does productivity and growth platform even mean? Sure, that's what it does if you really look at the bigger picture, but on a day to day thing, it serves a very specific function, and you have to make it easy. There's another book called Play Bigger, which talks about category creation. But that requires, I mean, that's a great thing to do if you can, but that requires a lot of resources, a lot of research. So with positioning, how I try is I this is something I spoke about like in my own podcast with James Stoneman Pipe. He's wonderful and he does a lot of great go-to-market strategies and templates and things like that. And we talked about looking at a very customer-centric positioning. Again, going back to the customer research part, where you first of all identify who really likes your product.
Right.
If you have something and if you're launching something new, if you're trying to even reposition, figure out who really likes your product, who are your best customers, and then talk to them, ask them all the questions that you need to, the pain points and things like that, and then try and then ask for what you really like about the product, then derive the values that they're bringing. And then you test this message internally, see how your team feels about it. Definitely test your messaging. One of the ways that you can do it after you figure out like your positioning is it you put it into the sales deck, give
Right.
the elevator pitch to your sales team, ask them to run some after they do their enablement or training sessions, see how they feel pitching that to the customer and see how that messaging lands. Sometimes how I know the positioning or the messaging that I have is a little questionable is when you have it on the backdrop of a trade exhibition where you're doing a booth,
Right.
and if someone is stopping and reading and they're like, what do y'all do? And if they have that face, then you know, oh, this wasn't clear. I mean, it's great they asked you,
Yeah.
but they had that look on their face. But if they look at it and go, oh, tell me more about this, then
Right.
that also gives you a good sense of, oh, right, we've done a good job positioning. So I would suggest figuring out how you want customers to think about it, go to them and ask how they think about it, and then try to match it with what the product actually does. And then you internally test it, and then you test it with a smaller group of customers also, see how they feel about it. How is it landing? You don't want to go to the extent of spending a lot on the trade booth and only find out then, but I that is also a way that I have learned that I had to change things. But testing it in those ways have generally helped to know how to figure out the right way to go.
So there's a lot of testing involved. It's a process,
For
right?
sure.
It's not
Absolutely.
something that where you're one and done with it.
Yes. Even with the email copy you write, with the ads that you write, how easy was it for your salesperson to explain it? How easy was it for your own marketing team to write the copy about it? If they're coming back and saying, what? Then,
Right.
you have to do some work.
So I think that you touched upon this quite a bit as well, in terms of positioning the product.
Yes.
But specifically, if we are to look at launches or product launches,
Yes.
what do you think are the core things that product marketer, but also an organization needs to get right?
Nikki, this is a very good topic because I know launches, I think for me, has been one of those very it's a very fun challenge, getting launches right, because like I said, sometimes the whole need for a product market even comes because like launches
yeah.
get a little. I think the biggest thing what's important with launches is making sure that everybody is on the same page in terms of what's going to be built. And this is why there's often a struggle where the product team would have something that's built. It really depends on the organization. With some organizations are very product led, very engineering led,
Right.
and there's more room for them to say, "This is what we're going to build."
Right.
Go forth and sell.
Yeah.
But ideally for launches, it's always help for everyone, all of the important stakeholders, to be a part of the conversation from day one.
Right.
It's something that I always advocate for myself to say, bring me to the conversation early on so I can plan this with everyone. A mistake that I have made sometimes is not practicing it myself, bringing the other important stakeholders into the
Inside,
conversation
yeah.
with me, which I need to do. So bringing everyone to the conversation early, making sure everyone is aligned, and having those steps of really being clear on who are we really selling to. We often have these very blanket statements of, okay, we're selling this to developers. It might not be every developer that this product would work for. Or you'd say, we're selling this to marketers. What kind of marketers? You have demand gen marketers, you have product marketers, you have growth marketers. Like, which was social media? Which one? And exactly what are the demographics? What are their pain points? What are they really looking to solve? What is keeping them up at night? You have to go into that very exact audience to understand how to make this launch successful. Otherwise, you're just casting a really wide net and you have these broad goals, and then later on, you're not hitting your goals, and it looks like what happened here? You just didn't get very specific with your target audience or who your ICP is. So I think that alignment, that ICP, having timelines that are well communicated, messaging that everyone is comfortable with, everyone reviewed, and I mean, everyone is not going to like it, but you at least have a common understanding of we're all going to sing the same story at the end. And I think the most important part for a launch is enablement. uh, Not just pushing something out and then marketing communicating it and then the sales team wondering what's this, but making sure before the feature is announced that the sales team understand this is a value prop, this is how we're going to talk about it, this is how I will paint the picture to say, hey, remember when this happened in your day, what if. So being able to so the product marketer has that role to play in helping articulate that value, so the sales team understands and how they can tell the story. So I think enablement and making sure the team is very confident with the story they're going to tell is quite important for a success. And goals, making sure everybody aligns on the goals that you want to hit for this. What is the adoption rate that we're looking for? What is the campaign performance metric we're looking for? Because otherwise, you launch something and then you're thinking, was this successful? Like, I don't know. We had 10
way to review it,
customers.
right?
Sorry?
No way to review it.
Yes, you have 10 customers that wrote back. Was that good? Sure. So I think being clear on what are the metrics we're trying to hit, and again, having alignment on that, I think is very important.
So I think the key word there is alignment on all facets, right?
Yes, yes.
Right. That's interesting. So we talked about, positioning and launches.
Yeah.
But another thing that product marketers would probably have to face is seeing a competitor launch or competitor launch a new feature or functionality.
Yeah.
And that tends to, drive that inner wanting in us to build the same thing
For
or
sure.
to compete with that feature. Um, how do you handle that pressure in terms of needing to build the same feature, but also how do you convert it into a growth opportunity for your own product?
I really like that because this was something that I think I internally struggled with. Whenever you see a competitor launching something and jumping into action, thinking, we got to have a statement about this. We need to do a talk track. We're going to do a quotable observation. Someone released this feature. We're going to say, no, this is where the future is. So there's always been that part of me that in the past that I've always wanted to jump, always wanted to respond. But what I have also realized in the recent past is you don't have to always respond.
Sure.
There is, you have a product that has a core audience that really believes in it. And if you believe in your story, you don't have to always jump in when a competitor makes a move. You can keep an eye. You can have your talk track. So what I would generally do is if it's, let's say, an acquisition, we would keep an eye on that and have a talk track ready for the sales team, for example. So that's what I would usually do. If you see someone has a interesting move they've made, then having some kind of a landmine, as you say, or a trap that you would leave saying, but we also know that they were bought over by so and so, but their core focus has been a very broad thing. So we're not very sure what their investment is going to look like in this space. So sometimes you would have that kind of talk track, but it really depends on how much of an impact you think it will make on your product or anything, and it will be in the case of a talk track. And I think it really depends on, is it something that will make your product competitive?
Right.
If it's something it makes your product competitive, if it also aligns with what your customer has been saying, this is what we need, and if you've heard it over and over, then you
Then
would
you
make it. But the thing is, sometimes that feature game is so difficult to play. You can develop something, your computers going to keep, you will just keep developing to match that as you go. But then if you have identified what really differentiates you, or if you have this very strong product story, or you built a very strong brand about your product, then I think you kind of capitalize on that.
Right.
So I would always pick my battles and see, whoever makes a move, does this align with what our vision is,
Right.
what our customer really wants, and then we work with the rest of
Because
the team.
ultimately the customers might be similar but might not be
Yes,
exactly the same, right?
for sure.
There might be certain features that work for certain customers
Yes,
and may not be a huge priority for yours.
definitely.
And identifying that rather than
Yes,
going behind features,
I think
that
so.
makes sense, right? Yeah.
Yes,
Again, it comes down to how much you want to invest into it as well.
yes,
Right.
definitely.
Quite interesting. Um, okay, so we looked at a variety of things to do with launchers,
Mm,
competitor launchers, and I think you touched upon this previously as well in terms of some of the mistakes you've made during
yeah,
launches. But okay, could you, um, maybe tell me a few uh, common mistakes that maybe you've seen people make, or you expect a lot of product marketers to make when it comes to launches?
sure. I think one of them is, again, not everybody digging deep into who the ICP is.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, there was a launch where we were ready to launch it, this feature, till some final questions came at the 12th hour saying, "Oh, but does this work for this type of
Right.
customer?" And then everyone thought, "Oh, we didn't think of no,
Mm,
that feature doesn't work for them." Great. Now we hadn't hit launch,
mm,
but we had to roll back,
right.
add some disclaimers, and just do this rethinking again.
Mm,
So I think the biggest thing is having this, and this was something, again, one of my managers advised me to do, have that set of clarity creating questions that you ask at the beginning
mhm.
from the product manager, whoever it is that you're talking about. I mean, it feels like a very, thing is, you don't know exactly what question to ask till that comes in.
Right.
Until that incident had happened, I never had to ask, oh, but does it work for this specific segment? So, but after, and thing is, with experience you learn to do it. Then now it is a line item. I ask, okay, what are the exact limitations? What are the exact segment that this won't work for? So going into that detail obviously comes with the experience, but
Mm,
having that clarity,
yeah.
creating
So spending a
questions.
bit of time at the beginning tends to save you a lot of time in the future, right?
For sure. And I mean, it's not that I hadn't asked, but that specific scenario came in with that specific feature. So just getting very clear, asking very clear questions in the beginning. I think that's one of them. Sometimes going into launching something without really understanding the scope for that, the market for it. Again, it goes a little bit back into customer research, but we had a instance where we wanted to launch something new because it was an existing product. We were trying to go into this new market. We just launched it because it was already there. But we had not really validated it,
Sure.
asked customers if this is something they're looking for, and then seeing traction of it took
Mm,
a little while. And then I guess another one is, again, just not bringing everyone involved into the table early, where some stakeholders may have had an element of surprise, thinking, oh, we didn't know this was coming. And then I felt, oh. So making sure that everyone is in the journey with you from the beginning. I think those three things are ones that I have definitely added to my own personal checklist to make sure that they are included for any
right.
of the launches.
Right. That's interesting. I think speaking to you comes out of experience, right? So
Yeah.
um being able to share that experience with others is very valuable as well. Um, but speaking of experience and how things are changing as well,
Yeah,
AI is coming as a force into all aspects of
so
marketing
fast. Yeah.
and in general, right, to
Yeah.
any business operations. How do you see as a product marketing manager, AI is changing the way in which you do research, segmentation, and positioning?
It's really helping bring all of the information together and distill it really well. For example, I've used AI to bring customer data into it,
Sure.
anonymize it for sure, but identify the ICPs for a certain
Mhm.
and giving or creating a prompt or sometimes asking AI itself to say, create me a prompt of how I can come up with the best ICP possible and then bringing the information together. So with that, it's been really helpful in just compiling and organizing and figuring out the insights of the information that you're bringing together. So from a segmentation purpose, it's been helpful to tell that one story
Mhm.
about it. With research, for sure, it's really helped with competitive intelligence because I used to have this very detailed process where I go through the website, go through SimilarWeb, go through Alexa ranking, go through craft.co, I go through every website, every review site, gone calls, everything, just to come up with what competitors are spoken about. But now with AI, it's very easy to bring it all together. I mean, there are also these very great competitive intelligence platforms as well, and I know they're incorporating an element of AI in theirs. But bringing it all together without looking at multiple sources, that's been great. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
I think
that's
those
that's
are a
how
couple
AI
of
is changing. Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
yeah. So, do you see any of these parts being able to be fully automated? And what do you think modern uh, PMMs should learn today to be relevant in AI-driven age?
That's a great question because the thing is, I don't know if we can fully automate it, but you can get at least 80% of the job done. With the competitive intelligence thing, for example, yes, I don't look at all of those sources anymore, but once you see the output, feel like that you still need to have that sense of human
Right.
verification point a little bit to see is this saying the
That
right
makes
thing.
sense.
Because I've had an instance just in the last couple of months where we did a research and it had some information where I caught thinking that doesn't look right because I had read about this competitor before and there was something it did in fact misread.
Mm-hmm.
And in another instance, it hallucinated information that was wrong about my own product. It started saying it had a feature that it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And then that, I thought, whoa, we do not, that's, we got to change that. So sometimes seeing that output, I mean, of course, you can make your prompt better, begin the right sources and all of those things, and ask for like source links and make sure you have the right info in there. But I do, the thing is, you can bring all of that, but you still need the PMM to bring the right insight and sales team. You
Right.
can bring all of that information together, but what do you exactly?
Tell the same thing, right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You can come up with the dismissal, but how do you articulate
Mm-hmm.
in how you present that or how you articulate the value of something in comparison to a competitor? So I think it does a great job of kind of bringing everything together, but you need the PMM again, like I
Yeah.
said, to be the connector.
Yeah. So I
Um,
think two things, right? In terms of the AI can always make mistakes,
yes,
right? And the other thing I took out of what you mentioned is um, in terms of how you need to use your experiences and the human touch to essentially get the insights out of the data that you see, right?
definitely.
So there needs to be a final layer of human involvement.
Yes, but I personally love it. I love using various tools. It does make my life easy in that you're not starting with a blank page.
Mhm.
It's a great way to organize your thoughts where you're thinking, this is what I'm thinking about. This launch this is what I help me, make this a let's pressure test this idea.
Mhm.
You have this thought partner with you.
Exactly.
So in that sense, I love it. It's
Something
something
you can debate with and
definitely.
critique your thought process.
Exactly, and even once exactly, and so every time I would say, let's pressure test this, let's critique this. What recommendations are we looking at? So there's a lot for me to work on
Mhm.
or work off of with that usage, and because of that, I mean, AI is something I use daily, and it's very helpful. You of course need that verification point, like if anything, you trust but verify. But I think it's great for things like research, building your personas, even pressure testing your messaging. Those are just, and even once you put your launch together, figuring out, is this really the right way to address the audience that I'm going after?
Right.
So it really becomes a cool thought partner.
So I think you touched on this as well a bit in terms of the types of products you'd use to support your PMM strategy and so on. Anything else you'd like to add on to that in terms of the types of tools that you end up using?
So at this point, I am mostly trying to make sure that the prompts that I'm using in tools just across like things like Gemini and
Mm.
Claude and ChatGPT. So I think I'm one of those AI users, even
Right.
though I talk about I daily use it. I mean, there are also these other like AI specific tools, like for
Mhm.
example, to like write your copy and
Right.
things like that, or even for like customer research and those things. But right now, those are the ones that I have been
Yeah, and
mostly
and since it's
using.
changing very rapidly as well,
Yes.
what we've realized is uh, even not on a product marketing standpoint, but in general, is that overlearning on one platform might not make sense
Yes.
because 3 months down the line there might be a competitor or a different product
Yeah,
that tends to work better,
for
right?
sure.
So yeah, so but keeping your options open and learning the basics tends to
Definitely.
help you.
Yeah, you'd have to keep your mind open all the time. My dad is someone who inspires me to do this every day. He's in his mid 60s, but he's someone who is so in touch. He's on all of the platforms, trying different things, verifying all of the facts on multiple platforms. He's on from Gemini to Claude to DeepSeek to all of those things. But just that is just simply to understand how like tools work. So and he's someone who like keeps up, and then it's often like a thing for me to also just keep my mind open to see how things are changing, because in
Yeah.
the past 2 years it's changed so much.
Yeah.
And I think for our
Age has
marketers,
nothing to do with it, right?
definitely. So being a product marketer and as someone who wants to constantly be in touch, tell the right story, reach the right audience, you'd want to just completely be in touch with like what's happening as well. So yeah, I'm always keeping an open mind and always open to learn.
Yeah, so I think that's all we have time for today, Ishara. Um, Thanks for joining in today and sharing your experiences, your knowledge, and what you think about the future as well. So if you're interested in listening to more about product marketing, you can always listen to your podcast, Spill the Marketing Beans
Yes.
as well. And thanks again for joining in.
Yeah, thank you, Nikki. I had so much fun. Thank you.
All right.